What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. Join alongside Jacob the Beard in Wisconsin here to talk a little Packers. I'm digging that cap today, man. I like that. The old school cursive riding.
Yeah, I don't bust this one out very often. It's one of those that I've worn. I'm very superstitious. I'm a little stitious, and I only have worn this hat when we've won, so I don't bust it out for any old occasion. I did not wear it for the 49ers game. I did wear it for Dallas, if that means anything. So, yeah.
There you go. Hey, listen, I played baseball pretty much my entire life, and I wouldn't say I'm superstitious, like, oh, if I don't do this, I'm going to have a bad game, but very, very, very much so OCD, like had to lick my finger so many times before throwing to a new batter. Couldn't step on the lines. It's strange, man. Baseball is one of those quirky sports, though, where that stuff, I think, actually matters.
You're superstitious, bro. You just said I licked my finger a certain amount of times.
It's just like everything has got to be absolutely perfect for me to move forward type thing. And like you said, I guess that is technically superstitious because somewhere deep down, rooted inside of me is something going, if you don't do this, it's going to go wrong. So there you go. But appreciate everybody hopping in here this morning. Obviously, we're just going to do a quick little show and get you guys some Packers content, man. I don't know about you, Jacob, but when I'm loading podcasts right now, there is nothing. Right? Everybody just, the 4th of July hits and all the podcasters go, that's good enough till camp. And
it's been for me, I mean, I listen constantly all day. It's always history, politics, and sports podcasts. And like you said, dude, nobody's doing anything. So testament to the PTA right here. We're going out, doing sometimes 2-a-days. Are we doing 2-a-day today?
We are doing 2-a-days today, man. We're going to do another one this evening. And then tomorrow, I've got the funeral service, but we'll be able to do an early morning show. Probably won't do an evening show unless you guys want to do one. And then Monday, we should be able to do an evening show back on regular schedule. So, yeah, we're going to do 2 today, man, for sure. So, we got a herd of people in here. We got Greg in the chat. Good morning, buddy. We got M. Smitty in the house. We got Ron Samble. We got Josh Vallanningham. Good morning, buddy. Good to see you. We got Omer in the house. What's up, Omer? And then we got, of course,
hey, what's up,
El Presidente himself, Dane Stromstad. Every time I see Dane's profile pic, I think this guy's way too important to be listening to us. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Chris in the house. What's up, Chris? Good to see you, buddy. So we're going to pick up where we left off last night, which was kind of going through PFF's positional ranking where they took the top 32 at each position. And, I don't know how you felt. We got all the way through the tackles last night, Jacob. We went, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and tackles. I felt pretty good about where the Packers landed on that list. Obviously, no receivers on that list. But other than that, I mean, we seem like the Packers are pretty well represented in the top 32, right?
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't necessarily – I think that's one of our strengths is the fact that you don't have a quote-unquote X or whatever, and we've talked about how that could be people seemingly maybe look at that and they're like, well, that's a weakness, and it's like, okay, well, then who are you going to guard? Who are you going to line up your best cornerback on? Who are you going to team, to that side of the field? You can't figure out who you want to actually pinpoint. The days of Davante Adams and the Wisconsin in the Green Bay Packers offense are over. So there isn't anything that really lets you know, like, okay, the play or this series is going through this guy. It's like we got 4 or 5 different receivers, not including the tight ends or running backs that are absolute weapons at any given moment. So, yeah.
Yep. And the way teams operate and defensive coordinators more specifically is they'll try to pick up on tendencies. And most of the time those tendencies are kind of built around certain formations. Like when they come out in a trips look and it's a second and long, meaning a second down of 8 yards or more, they like to run this concept, right? And defenses will now build their game plan around, okay, when they're in a trips right, and it's second or third and long, they like this concept. They'll build the defense around stopping that. But then on top of that, they will take it a step further and go, okay, who's their boundary X? Who's the guy they're trying to isolate in a one-on-one matchup? And then all of a sudden you get to mixing and matching those in because, like you said, we don't have a true number one wide receiver. If you've got Dontavian Wicks and Romeo Doubs who can play boundary X, although you guys know I've been very vocal, Dontavian Wicks needs to be our slot receiver. However, Matt LaFleur has been very vocal in the past too about guys being able to mix and match, and everyone needs to understand every choice route concept when it comes to every position on the field, whether you're playing boundary X, you're playing Z, you're playing a slot, you're playing flyer, you're playing a Y flex, whatever it is, you've got to understand the choice routes that are included within that formation. Once you get those guys up to speed, and that's what we talk about, there being a learning curve for young players. Once you get to that point, man, it's game on, and it kind of feels like we're to that point this year. So it's a long way of saying defenses aren't going to be able to key in and go, that's their boundary X. They're going to have to just go, okay, formationally, they like to attack us this way. How can we stop it? Oh, by the way, Josh Jacobs is going to be slamming the ball down your throat here too. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens for sure, man. M. Smitty in the chat said, the ignoring of the Green Bay wide receiver room is insane, but somehow okay with people sleeping on them. That's a very, very good way of describing it for sure, man. Omer said, can't wait to see this revamp D. I love the Cooper pick. I think we finally got that run stuffer we needed so badly. If his college game transfers over to the pros, we've got that run stuffer, because that's exactly what he did, Jacob. Right? When we watched the tape, that dude start, stop, shoot, man.
He's the definition of a human meat missile. All right. That's what he is.
Yep. No doubt about it. Man.
Can I ask a question quick? Omar says, speaking on, sleeping on the receivers, he goes, Green Bay could have 4 receivers, 1,000 plus, maybe 5. Now, I'm not going to say that's not impossible. I say it's a little probably starry-eyed, but I would love for Smitty or anybody in the chat, Jamie, look up and see, was there any time that they had 3 1,000-yard receivers, let alone 4? If so, if you could let me know, that'd be cool, just to because I mean, you'd say that a good year for a quarterback is he's throwing over 4,000, right? Probably 30 tuds, however many interceptions. So to actually get 4 wide receivers to each get 1,000, when you have tight ends, you have running backs, but even if you had 4 players get over 1,000, I'd like to know if that was an actual thing that happened. So check that out for me, Smitty.
Right offhand, again, I don't have any stats to back this up. I could be completely off base. I don't think we've ever had 2 receivers at 1,000 yards. I could be wrong. I feel really, really, really comfortable saying there's never been 3. But even in Aaron Rodgers' big years, it was Jordy Nelson that led the way, or it was Greg Jennings that led the way, and Jordy was kind of playing second fiddle. And then when Jordy took over, he led the way, and Cobby was playing second fiddle. And then when you get to the point where Davante Adams shows up, he's leading the way, and Cobby's kind of playing second fiddle. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I could be wrong, but I don't think we've ever had 2 receivers, at least in the Aaron Rodgers era. It may have happened with Brett. I'm not 100% sure. But I don't think we ever had 2 with 1,000. So I think 4 receivers at 1,000, I would definitely bet the under on that. Not because I'm a hater, but because I value my money. But I do.
Check this out. There we go.
There it is.
So it happened 5 times in NFL history for a team to have 3 receivers with 1,000 yards. I would bet maybe one of them is like a Kurt Warner team, or
what I
mean, like one of those.
Yeah.
When they had Torrey Holt and gosh, who else was it? Isaac Bruce, wasn't it? Was it Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt? And
it was Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, Marshall Faulk.
That's right.
Marshall Faulk may have had 1,000 yards receiving.
That's true too, man. Yeah,
that might have been one of the teams. And if that's the case, I bet Marshall was one of those 1,000 yards receiving backs. So, yeah, here we are, man. We're 8 minutes in, and we didn't plan on talking about this. It's good conversation. I love it. Anytime you can talk about the old NFL, I say the old NFL, it still feels like it was yesterday to me. But I hate seeing these memes, Jacob, where they're like, the Back to the Future meme, where it's like when Back to the Future dropped, he went back to 1955 or whatever it was. Like, that would be like today going back to the day that the Back to the Future was released. I'm like, I don't want to hear this, bro. I do not want to hear this. Let's see here. William in the chat said, my biggest concerns will be how we can run block, and I'll quickly write rookies on defense get exclamated to their job. I think that's the wrong word, or maybe I'm misunderstanding it. Nonetheless, though, the rookies kind of the rookies getting acclimated.
That's what he tried to say. He typed it there.
Listen, you would never hear me go, no, that's not how that's said, because I'm not that guy. Right.
Clayton's like, I'm going to work through this. So
listen, you need a hold, Doug, let me know. I'm your guy. I got that strong back. But I'm just telling you right now, you need anything scholar wise. I'm not your boy. We'll find your boy, but I'm not your boy. My biggest concerns will be run blocking, how quickly our rookies on defense get acclimated to their jobs. It's huge. It's huge because when those rookies can hit the ground running, it changes everything. That's why I felt so bad for LaFleur the first half of the season last year. Was like he had the year before he had a young receiving core, right? Extremely young. And there's only so much they could do in the playbook. That's why Aaron Rodgers got so frustrated because there was choice routes being ran wrong and things like that. Now, listen, I'm not sitting there pretending like I could do it any better. God knows I couldn't. Even if I had the physical ability, I don't have the mental capability of doing it. So this is not me dogging the players. But then you step into last year, and arguably the more important position in Matt LaFleur's system is the tight end because it's got to play a role in the running game and the passing game. You got two rookies there. You see them kind of get their rear ends handed to them in the first half of the season. I found myself feeling bad for Coach LaFleur. Like, man, I mean, what do we expect? This is the youngest team in the league. And lo and behold, second half, they got used to it. They got acclimated or exclamated, however we want to say it. And all of a sudden, things fall into place, right? So I'm just so glad they didn't run LaFleur out of town during that short stint. That would have sucked.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because he would have ended up somewhere in the division and smoked our head. That's what would have happened.
Yeah, exactly. Ron was taking a guess.
My bad. There you go.
So he said, how about the Fouts Chargers? And then Smitty went ahead and confirmed that. Chargers in the 80s, 85 Redskins, 95 Falcons, the 04 Colts, and the 08 Cardinals were the ones that had 3+ 1,000 yards receivers in the same.
So it wasn't the Rams, but it was Kurt Warner.
Is that Kurt Warner? Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's wild, man. 04 Colts would obviously have been Peyton Manning, probably, and I may be getting the years mixed up when they got to the league, but it was probably Peyton Manning. He had our boy Pierre Garçon. He had Marvin Harrison. He had a great tight end, so I can never remember that tight end's name. But
it was a yeah.
What was his name?
He was a white boy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
What was his name, dude?
We never remember the white boys on this show. So, they all.
Dallas. Oh.
Yeah, Dallas. You're gonna drive me crazy. I'm not saying Goddard.
Come on, Smitty. No, it was
Turner.
What's his name? No.
I'm gonna Google. I'm gonna cheat. I can't take it.
I can't. That makes me so mad. And he was like one of the best tight ends at the time. It's gonna make me upset. Dallas Clark.
Dang it. I got us. Dallas Clark. There you go. All right. So there you go. Good just random talk across the league. By the way, the 85 Redskins, it was around that time. My high school back home, our mascot was a Redskin, and we were the Cumberland Redskins. And so my first team that I actually rooted for was the Washington Redskins. And whenever
you can't say that, Clayton.
Yeah, it's hilarious, especially with me, having Native American in my blood. It just cracks me up when Caucasian human beings tell me I'm not allowed to say a term that was used to describe my ancestors. I'm like, bro, you going to have to get off that high horse there, Hoss, because you are from the mountains of Caucasus, and you're not going to tell me what you can or cannot say about my heritage. So it's absolutely wild. Anyway, so yeah, Dallas Clark from Iowa. There you go again. Iowa just churning out.
Iowa. Tight end, dude. What is going on?
We talked about the tight ends last night. Number one on the list was George Kittle. Wasn't he from Iowa? Am I thinking right?
Yeah, wasn't Laporta as well?
Yep, Sam. It's unbelievable, bro. Think about that.
It's crazy.
Just don't even worry about scouting tight ends. Just draft whoever.
Go to Iowa. Yeah, it doesn't matter. So, all right, let's get into this topic here, so we can try to finish up this little series we wanted to do. So let's start with the guards here today. PFF guard ranking top 32 ahead of the 2024 NFL season. Number 1, Chris Lindstrom from the Falcons. Number 2, Joe Thuney from the Chiefs. Number 3, Sam Cosmi from the Washington Commanders. Number 4, Tyler Smith from the Cowboys. Number 5, Quinn. How do you say that? Miners, yeah.
Miners maybe from the Broncos. Number 6, Kevin Zeitler from the Lions. Number 7, Zach Martin from the Cowboys. Number 8, Joe Bitonio from the Browns. Can't believe he's still playing football. That dude's been good for so long, man.
Hey, Bitonio.
Hey, give me a cannoli. Number 9, Wyatt Teller from the Browns. Number 10, Robert Hunt from the Panthers. Number 11, Quentin Nelson from the Colts. Pretty sure he was a Notre Dame Fighting Irish, just throw that out there. Number 12, Kevin Dotson from the Rams. 13, Trey Smith from the Chiefs. 14, Isaac Semalo from the Steelers. Number 15, Landon Dickerson from the Eagles. 16, Tevin Jenkins from the Bears. 17, Brandon Scherf from the Jacksonville Jaguars. And at number 18, we got our very own Elgton Jenkins from the Green Bay Packers. Here's what it says. Jenkins' willingness and ability to play across the entire offensive line has seen him take snaps at left tackle, left guard, center, right tackle in some capacity for the Packers over the last 5 years. The fact that his level of play has barely dropped below excellent is a testament to his natural ability in the trenches. His 65.4 PFF overall grade in 2023 was the lowest of his career, but Jenkins earned an 81.3 pass blocking grade and was one of just 4 guards to play more than 700 snaps and not allow a single sack. So that's the key statistic for Elgton Jenkins there, Jacob, is the fact that he did not give up a single sack last year. How do we feel about Elgton, man? Because, again, we signed him to that contract extension. That's just wild. I got to throw it up. Or Chad Inc. Noah Fant, also from Iowa.
Hey, you missed the other one, too.
Hawkinson, too?
That's crazy.
What the hell? I'm waiting for someone to pop up and say Ron Kramer went to Iowa, too, way back in the Lombardi days. But that's just crazy, man. Crazy. Anyway, Elgton Jenkins. I got distracted. I looked down and see him like, there's another one? What are we doing? What do you think about Elgton Jenkins here at 18, Jacob?
Man, you know what? I'm kind of have two minds for Elgton Jenkins because one, like they say in the thing, it's amazing that the guy's level of play did not necessarily drop off when he was asked to stretch and play 4 different positions. We talked about how it's such a kind of a, I don't know what the word is, I guess, such a slight to just assume that somebody can go from left tackle to right tackle. They can go from left guard to right guard. They can play center. No, man. I mean, you talk about the footwork, the procedures, all that kind of stuff is very different. The tendencies of your opponents that are rushing against you, you got to learn how to play. The fact, again, that he can play all those 4 positions, he could play all 5 if he wanted to. And that he never really fell off. He kind of had that baseline floor. I think that's amazing for him. However, I would argue that I wish that we could utilize Elgton Jenkins' talents more by just putting him in a position and saying, hey, this is your position. Excel in it, because like he's so good at playing everything. Like, let him focus on one single solitary position and the guy will be elite. I have no question about it. But when we keep bouncing him around, asking him to literally kind of, he's drinking from a fire hose trying to make it work. And if you could just let him hone his game in a little bit more, I think that he would actually be that elite top level, whether it's a left tackle, left guard, right guard, center, right tackle. The guy can be an all pro in this league.
Yeah, and the other thing too is like he coming off that ACL there, what it was a year and a half ago, whatever it was. I think you're going to get a fully healthy Elgton Jenkins this year, and like you said, he's not going through training camp trying to compete at other positions. Settle on one, right? That's the big thing. Yeah. And I know there's many people, or a few people, I should say, that are in and around the building, working with the sports media there for the local beat reporters in that regard. They seem to think that the future center is already in-house. Now, they haven't specified, is it Elgton Jenkins? Is it Jacob Monk? Kind of feels like Elgton Jenkins, and I would be totally cool with that. I think center is way more important than guard. That's just me personally. So I don't know why we haven't made that move sooner.
Said put him in the middle, put him at center.
Yeah, there you go. And Dan G in the house says Elgton owns Aaron Donald. I remember making a meme of Elgton holding this baby, and I put Aaron Donald's face on him on the baby. He did. He absolutely, and he was so frustrated. Aaron Donald was so pissed, man. He just couldn't.
And you remember Elgton kept he would do that thing where he'd hold him a little bit longer after the play, and you could see that Aaron Donald was he felt disrespected because Elgton Jenkins did not bow down to the Aaron Donald, holier than thou, right, he's the goat of all goats, it's like he played him hard.
Elgton seems to rise to the occasion when he's faced with a challenge. Like I'll give you another example too. Last year, when they had their joint practices with the Cincinnati Bengals, it was Elgton that started that fight.
That's
like
right.
Elton, like, you guys,
remember, and they said he threw a straight up haymaker at them.
Yeah. So when people challenge Elgton and they think they're better or what have you, Elgton just seems to
Rise to the top. Oh yeah.
Every time, man. Every time. So you gotta love it. Omer said, I wish they'd move Jenkins to center. What you were talking about, Jacob. Let the kid Morgan play left guard. If you're gonna do it now, right? Like, don't wait until you get halfway through camp and then all of a sudden. But I honestly think that they do like Josh Myers. They might not like him enough to re-sign him. I believe that personally too. But I think they're looking at it going, you know what? Myers is our best choice at center right now to prevent this just whole merry-go-round of positions. Play him at center. If he's not willing to take darn near a minimum contract on an extension, which he won't, he's got too many physical traits. Someone else will overpay for him, just like John Runyon got overpaid.
If I'm not mistaken, somebody said that other than Steve Avelia, who just got drafted, giant human being. I think that basically nobody else has the measurables of Josh Myers and the athletic ability. So I think somebody will give him the bag.
It's a goody pig. He's got all the physical traits, the tools that you could ask for in a center. It just hasn't kind of came together to the tune of a second-round pick, right? And it still hurts that Creed Humphrey is – we're going to get to center here in a second. Here we're talking about center. We ain't even there yet, but we'll get to it here in a second. And it's going to make us mad, but at the same time, it's important to understand, what happened, why did it happen, right? So, and again, Creed Humphrey, arguably the best center in the game right now. There's still some people that the Goody stands that refuse to acknowledge it. And I'm like, bro, I don't know what you're watching to think that Creed Humphrey isn't the best center in the game now that Jason Kelsey is gone, of course. But Ron Samble in the chat said Jenkins needs a little consistency on each side of him, and he will excel. That's the other thing too, Jacob. Like, he's been kind of – we're talking about how bad Josh Myers has played at times in the past. Elton's kind of making up for that. And then on top of that, Bach goes down again. Now you've got a 7th-round pick playing left tackle. That dude's got to be looking around going, okay, what the hell? I gotta carry the load here, right?
Yep.
So if Rashid takes a step forward, which we're kind of hoping and expecting he will, if that happens this year, then look out. Elton will now be able to help with the center position a little bit more on some of those double-doubles and really kind of open things up for sure. Let's see what else we got here in the chat before we move on. Ron Samuel says Tom Brady feels center is the most important line. See, I've went back and forth. You guys know when I talk about tier 1 of importance on offense, it's quarterback and left tackle, right? Quarterback, then left tackle. I had a hard time with it last offseason. And I reached out to several coaches, one of which was Coach Hahn, who used to, contribute to Packernet. I know he's busy chasing his coaching career and all that. But I actually asked him one time, I said, Coach, man, I'm kind of leaning now toward, do you think that tackle isn't as important, or maybe center is as important than tackle? Basically meaning, should center be tier 1, or should left tackle go down to tier 2 where center is? Because you guys know that's how I have it. The only tier 2 position of importance, in my opinion, on offense is center. It goes left tackle, quarterback, then center, then everything else. That's the way I see it. So when I asked him that, he went, center's important, but bro, blind side of the quarterback is top. It's the most important. So I'm going to always kind of, I'm going to kind of, I don't want to say bow down, but I'm going to go, okay, these guys know more about coaching offensive line than me. I haven't met one person that said center is more important than left tackle, although if Tom Brady said it, that dude's qualified to talk about it, right? So center's important, man. It's definitely underrated. There's no doubt about that. Let's go one more, and then we'll keep it moving here. DJ Colvin in the chat. Appreciate you, buddy. He says, morning, everyone. First time since the draft. I caught you guys live. Second shift live. Jenkins is a dog. Hey, straight to the point. Appreciate you making us a part of your morning here, buddy. And hopefully you're not working too hard, pal. Appreciate you. So, all right, that's the guard position. Now, again, Elton Jenkins, number 18. Let's look at his contract real quick, Jacob, and see if we're getting our money's worth here. So, obviously, Elton Jenkins signed that contract extension a few years ago. He is under contract through 2026. So, in 2024, this year, his cap hit is $14.4 million. It jumps to $17.6 million next year. And then in 2026, it jumps to $24.8. Now, it is worth noting he's 29 years old this year. And
he's 29?
Yeah, he got old quick, man.
Wow.
Jacob, the older you get, bro, I know I'm not much older than you, but I'm telling you, every year I look up and go, that dude was just playing. No, that dude's drawing Social Security now, Clay. Time is flying by. So next year he'll be 30 years old, and his cap hit is $17.6 million. Now look at the dead cap attached in the far right column, $9.6 million. So essentially what you could do is you could free up $8 million if you cut him out right next year. Again, when I say these, I'm not suggesting we should do that. I'm simply saying here are Goody's options. Now, another thing you can do is you see a base salary of $11.7 million. Not that you would even have to do this, but you could convert that to signing bonus, add a couple of voidable years, and reduce that cap hit. They may do that. That might be the route they go. But regardless, that's not a horrible cap hit for someone who can play left tackle too, Jake.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's you should put like an asterisk there that just says this dude can play left tackle. So like if you want to compare that to left tackle money, I mean, I actually am kind of shocked. I did not think in my head that he was 29. We've talked about how the front office in the Green Bay is kind of stingy when it comes to giving guys quote unquote third contracts or extending them past the point of 30. Do you see the great, because of how deep we are possibly at certain positions on the offensive line, do you see them actually maybe trying to restructure in 2025? Do you see them trying to maybe, or just let it play out? Like, what do you think?
That's it. It's all going to come down to how he plays, but that's exactly how I see it. I think in 2025, what they'll do is they'll go to him and go, hey, we want to get this cap number down. So how about this? Your base salary is $11.7 million, right? And the signing bonus was already prorated at $4.8 million. What if we converted? Would you be willing to take a pay cut? And this is how they would package it. Like, we could cut you out, right? And you're 30 years old. Who's going to pay, top dollar for a 30-year-old type thing? But we could take some of that base salary, trim it off. Let's say, hey, what if we write you a $5 million fully guaranteed check? All right, cool. In order to do that, will you take a $3 million pay cut? So in their eyes, it's okay. I can get $5 million up front. If they do decide to move on from me after this, I get another bite at the apple with another team. But that screams restructure right there. And by doing that, what they can do, guys, is they can shave this is cash over cap. You're offering him cash so we can free up cap. That's what cash over cap means. So here's $5 million fully guaranteed as opposed to 11.7 not guaranteed. And you get your check right now, we save a little bit on the cap, and it might just be $3 million. I just don't think the Packers are going to have to do that. But you hit the nail on the head, Jake. That's definitely an option. That will be an option. And that's why when people say he took a pay cut, yes, technically he did take a pay cut, but he got more fully guaranteed money as opposed to they might cut him outright, and then another team might just pay him a minimum contract, right? Not that Elton would get a minimum, but that's just kind of how that's the inner workings of restructuring the deals and taking the quote-unquote pay cut. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Good deal. All right, so let's do this now. Let's move on to the next position, which is center. We kind of talked about it a little bit here. And let's just take a quick gander here at the center position. So PFF, same type thing. PFF center rankings, top 32 ahead of the 2024 NFL season. Number one on the list, Creed Humphrey with the Kansas City Chiefs. So obviously that one always hurts because the Packers took Josh Myers one pick ahead of Creed Humphrey. Okay. And again, every GM misses. They miss on picks, but that one is like, man, if you had drafted Creed Humphrey instead of Josh Myers, we would be set at center right now. Set at center. So kind of tough. Number two, Frank Ragnow from the Lions. By the way, look at the Lions PFF color. You ain't even got to look at the actual numbers. Just look at the color. Their offensive line is stacked, bro. And they build it. When you guys hear me say tier 1, tier 2, this is how you build an offensive line. Look at their left tackle. Their left tackle, let me see if I can zoom in for you guys here just a touch. I don't know if I can.
That's Decker, right?
Yeah. So if we zoom in just a touch so you can see it. So you got Decker, left tackle, tier 1 of importance, 81.1. Right tackle, 92.8. And then center, Ragnow, 88.8. And you notice how the weak point of that offensive line are the guards. That's how I
held together.
Yeah, because you've got two great tackles that can help those guards from the outside in, and then you've got a center running the show, calling the signals, calling the shots. Hey, he's the leader of our offensive line. He can make sure you get into the right protection at all times. Listen, I hate it more than anyone, but you've got to tip your cap to the Lions because they have done a phenomenal job building that offensive line. That's how you build an offensive line.
You look at that offensive line, there's only one guy that's not in the top 10 at their position, and it's the right guard who has a 71.6 grade.
Right. And we would love to have that at right guard, but we not. So maybe we have that this year. Number 3 at center is Tyler Linderbaum. Number 4, Ryan Kelly. 5, Eric McCoy. 6, David Andrews. 7, Ethan Pocic, I think is how you say it, Pocic. Ted Karras is at number 8. Number 9, Drew Dahlman. 10, Andre James. 11, Aaron Brewer. 12, Mitch Morse. 13, Tyler
Biadasz.
Number 14, Lloyd Cushenberry III. Number 15, Garrett Bradbury. 16, Connor McGovern. Sound like a Happy Gilmore character there. 17, Cam Jurgens. 18, Bradley Bozeman. 19, number 20, Austin Corbett. Number 21, Jake Brindle. 22, Steve Avala. I think that's how you say that name. Yeah. Number 23, Joe Tippmann. Number 24, Juice Scruggs. 25, Ryan Bates. 26, John Michael Schmitz Jr. Number 27, Josh Myers. So, obviously, they see him as starting quality, but he's right towards the bottom. It says Myers' performance in 2023 dipped after he earned an excellent 74.3 pass blocking grade and allowed just 13 pressures in 2022. The Packers center saw his pressures allowed more than double, and his pass blocking grade dropped to 52.7. So, I said it last year. I want to see an open competition at center. I just don't think they're going to do it. But go ahead, Jay.
It's interesting that he's, if you scroll a little bit, Graham Barton and Zach Frazier haven't played a snap yet. That's the only reason why they're above him. I don't know who they got at 30 through 32 there, but that's not a great testament to say if the trust in Josh Myers. Like you said, man, the athletic ability, the size, the skill is there. We just have not been able to tap into that potential and get the most out of it. But
yeah, definitely. So that's where he sits. Now, if we look at Josh Myers' contract, here's the good news. Have you heard the good news? Here's the good news. He's not eating up a whole lot of cap, right? Now in 2024, he jumped to $3.4 million. That's only 1.3% of the cap. Now you see in 2023, it was 1.5 million, 1.2 million, 1 million flat since he's been in the league. So obviously it did jump up quite a bit. Now, there's only $354,000 in dead cap is what this is showing. I don't know if it's possible to cut him and free that up or exactly how the rookie contracts fall into place. It seems like the guaranteed money is pretty much all but gone, and they could move on if they wanted to. I just don't think they're going to do it. And here's the other thing it's worth mentioning, and we talk about this from time to time on the show. It's contract year. You're going to get the best version of that dude. Right? Like he's going to be trying his hardest, not that he hasn't in the past, but he's going to be trying his hardest to earn that next contract because he is 26 years old. Jacob, when he gets this next deal, whether it's with the Packers or in free agency, I personally think it'll be in free agency unless he's willing to take a very, very, very team-friendly deal. This is probably the last bite of the apple this dude's going to get, man.
Yeah, I mean, like you talked about, I mean, I could not believe Jenkins was 29, Myers being at 26. You know, it is. It's one of those things where the NFL, what do they call it? It's not for long. And especially when you're that size and you are that athletic, like your body's taking a toll. I always think about our one of our favorite guests of the show is Mr. Mike Wall. And to look at Mike Wall now versus his playing weight, it's like, dude, I mean, yeah, Mike Wall was an absolute tank. And you see that guy was able to, drop a lot of weight so he could actually save his joints. I mean, he's talked about it, right? Where it's like, you literally can't survive at that weight with the impact and the amount of stress on your bones and joints. It's insane.
Yeah. Not to mention, like you said, your back. And here's the other thing too, the way you're eating. Yeah, you're eating healthy, but when you're taking in that much protein too, that can be, if it's a very fine line between, I think it's your kidneys that it really hurts, either your kidneys or your liver. I think it's your kidneys that it can really, is it your liver, whatever it is, it can put a lot of, you got to find that perfect balance, man. And like you said, I want to say that Mike blimped up. He came in and tried to play tackle. He couldn't play tackle, so they moved him to guard, and he was just unbelievable at guard. But I want to say that he peaked out at somewhere around 320. Like he was a massive human being, man, massive. And he played angry. That's what I like about Mike Wall for sure. Tell you somebody else who played angry. This guy right here. Come on, Grady. I'm going to show Grady Jackson every chance I get in memory of my brother. That's my brother's favorite Green Bay Packer right there. Be that guy right there. That's me when Mandy says the pancakes are ready here in a second. You know what I'm saying? Right there. But all right, so let's move on to edge. We're at the 34-minute mark. We got time. Let's go to edge defender. All right, so same thing. PFF edge defender rankings, top 32 ahead of the 2024 NFL season. Number 1, Myles Garrett of the Cleveland Browns. Number 2, Micah Parsons from the Dallas Cowboys. By the way, I think is it Jim Schwartz? Am I thinking right? Is Jim Schwartz the defensive coordinator for the Browns? Let me double check that real quick. I got to know because if he is, he's probably going to get another shot as a head coach soon. Because that dude, you guys remember, he was the head coach for the Lions and he stunk, right? As a head coach, but he went right back to just being a dominant defensive coordinator. He's the defensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns. In 2023, he was named the NFL Assistant Coach of the Year. And the reason I bring that up is because, like I said, obviously Myles Garrett, he got the absolute best out of Myles Garrett, who was a dog coming out of college. There's no two ways about that. Jim Schwartz is probably going to get another chance to be a head coach soon. He's obviously that good at
that
running.
D-line, he also got the best out of Za'Darius. Za'Darius revamped his career over there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they re-signed him too, didn't they? If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So I think they're bringing him back. Micah Parsons is number 2 with the Cowboys. Number 3, Nick Bosa with the Niners. 4, TJ Watt with the Steelers. 5, Max Crosby with the Raiders. 6, Aiden Hutchinson with the Lions. You guys know he was my top prospect the year he came out in the draft. It was just hands down like this dude's a generational talent is the way I seen him. Obviously, he's right there on the cusp of becoming a top 5 edge defender in the league. Number 7, Khalil Mack, Los Angeles Chargers. Number 8, Josh Allen for the Jaguars. He just got the bag. I believe they paid him. Number 9, Trey Hendrickson for the Bengals. 10, Jalen Phillips from the Dolphins. And number 11, we got to cut him. He's overrated, Mr. Rashawn Gary. So, God, it still pisses me off. Number 11, Rashawn Gary says Gary's overall grade has gone down in each of the past 3 seasons from 89.8 in 2021, 84.4 to 80.9. His pass rush grades and win rate have steadily dropped as well, but they aren't poor marks. Gary is one of the most explosive edge rushers in the league, and a bounce-back year could easily vault him into the top 10 on this list. So coming off an ACL, which we didn't expect him to be ready at the first of the season, he worked through it and somehow got on the field. He still ended up being the highest-graded defender on our defense. So obviously another down year for Gary. If that knee's healthy and he can pin his ears back in this 4-3, which it looks like he's trimmed down about 10 pounds is what it looks like. And I could be wrong, but when I've seen – the videos of him this offseason, it looks like when they do their exit interviews, one of the things that the coaching staff tells these players, hey, when you come back, we want you at this weight. And it looks like they told Gary, hey, let's shave a little bit off and we're going to rush you off the edge because that dude I'm telling you, he's a beast. And again, is he a top 5 pass rusher? The numbers would say no. But just because someone isn't a top 5 at their position doesn't mean you cut them loose. And immediately people talk about, well, it's a contract. We're paying him too much. Let's hit on that real quick, and I'm going to get you on where he's ranked. Rashawn Gary's contract, Jacob, his cap hit in 2024 is $11.1 million. Like, what are we even talking about?
That's nothing. That's nothing.
Yeah. So, and people will immediately say, well, wait till it blimps up to over 30. The final year of his contract, he'll be 30 years old in 2027, and that cap hit will be $31 million. Look at the dead cap attached, 8.5. You could cut him, and you could free up a ton of money there. I mean, you're talking about freeing up what would that be? $20 million you could free up by cutting them outright. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's important to focus on the cap hits and the dead cap involved with the structure of the contract, rather than when you hear this, they're getting 30 million per year or 28 million per year. Guys, those are numbers coming from the agents through the media. And that's the agent's way of sticking their chest out and going, I got more for my client. I got more for my client. Now, why would the media members spread that information if it's not telling the entire story? Because they want the next contract details as quick as possible, right? So that's why it's important to understand the guaranteed money, how the contract's structured, when can you get out, and how much is it going to cost you to get out. So, Jacob, what do you think about this? Rashawn Gary being 11th, and I can pull the contract back up to you. Just let me know what you need.
No, I mean, I would have liked to see him higher on this list, and it goes on to talk about how, it's a little bit concerning that he has regressed consistently every year. Now, that being said, again, like we've talked about, what has he been asked to do as that edge defender? Has he been told to set the edge? Has he been told to be a contain guy? Has he been told to pin his ears back? Has he been told that he has to watch the out routes of the running backs, those wheel routes, that kind of crap? I think that this year, like you talked about, Jeff Hafley, putting him into a position where he has his hand in the dirt, pin his ears back, don't worry so much about containing all that kind of stuff, just go and get the quarterback. That's Rashawn Gary's, and we've talked about also how selfless this guy is. When he was in Michigan, he was considered maybe not explosive because of the fact that they wanted him to just be an edge container kind of guy. They didn't let him be an athletic freak. The guys like you look at the top of that list, the Myles Garrett's, the Bosas, they have a pretty unique skill set where they just say, go be a freak, just be a freak and just try to disrupt any kind of play in that quarterback's face that you can do. And one other guy that I really want to talk about quick, Max Crosby, I don't think gets enough respect. That dude is a freak. Like, you look at all the intangibles, all of the metrics, he is top of the list almost in every single one. And I don't think he gets enough respect on his name. That being said, Rashawn Gary, I'm hoping he cracks the top 10 for sure this year.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a bounce back year. And when Jacob's talking about being able to pin his ears back in a 4-3 as opposed to a 34, when another team would run 12 personnel or 21 personnel, which 21 is 2 running backs, 1 tight end, or 12 personnel is 1 running back, 2 tight ends, that triggers your base defense most of the time. Now, there's some defenses in the league that'll play their nickel, but just set that to the side for a second and assume you're going to play your base defense. We like to run what we call a 34 jam, where you're covering both guards for the most part. Now, occasionally we would run just a base 34 where the defensive ends would actually not cover the guard. They would play the inside shoulder of the tackle, that type of thing. So you've got a 5-man front, and you've got the interior defensive lineman playing 2 gaps. Then with Rashawn Gary, he had to set the edge. So he had to be somewhat patient off the edge. If it was an obvious passing down, he could work the tackle to the quarterback. You've seen he was very effective. But when it was an early down, he couldn't just go. He couldn't just, all right, let's rush the quarterback. He had to make sure that he was very, very aware of the run while he tried to set the edge on his way to the quarterback. Now with the 4-3, essentially what you've got is you've got 4 defensive linemen that are down now, and you've got 3 stack backers. Now, we're only going to be in this probably somewhere between 20 to 25% of the time, but it's important on those early downs to get the offense behind schedule. When he rushes the quarterback, he's got an extra linebacker behind him. So it's like the linebackers are almost playing the 2-gap approach. So the defensive line can simply play the run on their way to the quarterback. So you just get aggressive and you go. I'm telling you, man, if his knee, I think his knee is fully healthy, and no one takes it more serious than Rashawn Gary does as far as preparation. This is liable to be his highest sack total year. And again, you guys know I'm not crazy about sacks. Give me the pressures. Give me the pressure picks over a coverage sack. That's just me personally. I want turnovers. Turnovers is the thing that sways the score. It tilts the field in your favor way more than any other statistic is getting those turnovers. So when you can get pressure on the quarterback and force him to throw into coverage and cause an interception, or if you do get to the quarterback, strip sack, that's the same thing. That's a turnover, right? But we got to, as Coach LaFleur says, we got to win the ball this year. We've got to. So I'm excited to see what Rashawn does this year. And again, I think he's been a leader of this team. Yes, he's had down years. There's no doubt about it. But the dude is still the highest graded player on our defense, which is just wild. It's phenomenal to think about. So, Jacob, we're at the 43-minute mark. Do you want to wrap it up here, or would you rather hit on another position?
I got to make a breakfast a little bit later. So if you want to wrap up early, we can. But
that'll give us something to talk about this evening too, so we can. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's do that. Let's just kind of end it there, and we'll be back tonight at 7 p.m. Central Time to talk about the interior defensive line list, the cornerback list, and the safety list. And then we got some other topics I want to hit on too. I got some other articles already queued up that we're going to kind of deep dive. But anything else you want to hit on as we wrap up, Jacob? Anything at all, man?
Man, no, I'm excited. It is crazy how fast this off season is going by. And, we talked about how, like, man, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to cover? Are we going to have to, it's crazy. And also always, as always, thank you to the chat, because we could literally walk on here with no information, and the chat could make us have a great episode. So props. Hey, shout out to Omer. I haven't seen him in a minute. So what's up, dude?
Yeah, definitely. And we had a couple more chats marked here. Let's just hit them real quick. Ron Sample earlier said, how about the Fouts Chargers? They were on that list. Wasn't Air Cordy? I'm trying to think of what that was called. They had a nickname for that offense, but Dan Fouts, many people knew him as the old sports announcer, right? He would call games. Yeah. That dude was a hell of a quarterback back in the day. I think he played with Kellen Winslow Sr. as well, if I remember correctly. And Kellen Winslow Sr. was just an absolute dog at tight end. His son went a little – that dude's, yeah. Anyway, I think he's still in the clink. I'm not sure. Allegedly. Omer in the chat said, drafted some heat-seeking missiles. Can't wait to see this team blitzing. I think that I'm going to hold my opinion there. I don't know if we'll be blitzing more than we have in the past, but because I try to set the expectation, not that I'm the gatekeeper or anything. Please don't take this the wrong way, but when I hear people say that, like, we're going to be a blitz-heavy team, that is not what Robert Saleh and those guys do. They get pressure on the quarterback before they blitz occasionally. Every team does. Don't get me wrong, but their whole mindset is get pressure on the quarterback with a 4-man rush. That's their whole approach, right? So, and again, if blitzing wins us games, I'm all for it, Omer. You know, I think that you will see a team that's a little more aggressive in their pre-snap alignment. They'll stop trying to sugar too high shell pre-snap for sure. I think that's going to be the biggest.
I think, too, what he might mean and what's a more fair statement is that we'll be more efficient with the blitz because these guys are like, you watch guys like he's talking about. It's Cooper, Evan Williams, Hopper, Oladapo, Bullard. They were absolute human meat missiles. When you tell them go, they go. They don't have any hesitation. They just are absolute shot out of a cannon.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and he, like he said here, yes, Barry blitzed a lot, contrary to what many thought. Yeah, for sure. And there was times that most of the time when we got burned, we were impressed, man, or we blitz. And I'm like, and people were complaining. I'm going, that's what you have been screaming you want. Like, so frustrating. Omer said, yes, it's about pressure, not just sacks, disrupt the quarterback to go. Amen. So let's see, Jeff Stone. He said Eric Coryell. I think Eric Coryell was long. Actually, it probably was. It might have been Fouts because Eric Coryell was right around the time, I want to say right before John Madden. So maybe Dan Fouts did play right before John Madden took over with the Raiders because he mentions how he took things from Eric Coryell offense and kind of put that into the Raiders system, he being John Madden. And of course, Al Davis had his hands in the whole outfit the entire time. But anyway, I could talk history all night. We got to get out of here. So we say we're going to wrap it up early. We end up going normal time. But Jacob, thank you for your time, buddy. I'm sure I'll see you this evening. So we'll be back tonight for, like I said, PTA Live, 7 p.m. Central Time. If we get through these positions, we got another article we'll hit on. We got all kinds of cool stuff to talk about. We still got to finish the season with the game footage too. So we'll do that here real soon. We got a giveaway coming up with my brother's passing and everything kind of got thrown out of whack. I appreciate you all being gracious and patient with me, but we're going to do the giveaway to give away the picture of it's Aaron Rodgers, Bart Starr, and Brett Favre together in their jerseys and like blue jeans. It's a really cool casual picture that was donated by Mr. Larry. We'll be giving that one away real soon. So appreciate everybody's time. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Pack Go.